Here. Okay, we are live. Let me just pull this up over here. So I have it. Come on, come on, come on. Okay. No, I don't need to do that. There we go. Okay. I always pull it up on another window just because sometimes on the other software the pictures don't the comments don't show up as fast. So
Sure.
Turn that off so we don't see anything. Yeah. And, Master Valentine's already shared it through all of his through all of his pages. But so I guess try the come on. There we go. Probably the first question I saw on I pulled up the old, I think it was from 2006. There was a master's profile up in the associations page.
Yeah.
So it said you started training with your son in Pennsylvania, right? Region 8?
Yep. I was in Region 8. I lived in West Philadelphia and lived there all my life. As a kid, graduated at Upper Darby High School, and I lived in Upper Darby. And when I graduated and got married, I turned around and purchased a house that was my grandmother's house in West Philly. So that's where I lived at the time and started training over in Lansdowne, PA when my son was 9.
Nice.
And that started because he wanted to do it, which is a cool story in itself.
No, that's awesome. So who's your first instructor over there?
My instructor was Daniel Pope.
Okay.
Yep, he was in Lansdowne, PA. I used to play racquetball at a club there, and he had a school in the I guess it was I forget what the room was. It was an open room. It was just an all-purpose room, and I used to work out lifting weights. And I walked in there one day. I was like 30 years old, and this young guy comes over and introduces himself because I was just looking to see what the noise was, and he introduces himself. He pats me on the belly and says, "Oh, you're in pretty good shape for a man your age."
Oh.
I was like 30 years old. I turned around. Oh yeah, it's nice to meet you too. I went back in the room and worked out some more, and I wasn't too happy. I was like, who does this punk think he is? And then was 2 years later that my son asked about possibly trying martial arts classes. So that was how I first met my instructor.
Oh, that's I was saying. It's like 30. That's I'm way past that. I'm like, God, if somebody did that to me nowadays, I'd be mad.
Yeah, I was like all of 165 pounds, So I'm like, what? I'm in pretty good shape. Patting me on the belly, like he's a punk.
That's right. And you were how long? To what rank did you get in Region 8 before you moved down to Region 7?
I was Chodan.
Got to your
I
Chodan?
tested in 1992, May of '92, down in South Philly at the hotel. There was like 200 people there that day. So we sat for a couple hours first while the Chodans and Edans were testing for higher rank. And then we went up on the board, up on the floor. And of course, standing to my right was Master Scott Merrill, who I had never seen before and didn't have any interaction with until we had to do self-defense. And I looked at him and I looked up and I thought, you're dead. Meaning me, like I'm dead.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he is a large man.
Oh yeah. I found out how large that day.
One of my favorite stories with him, I remember, at the Masters Clinic where we do the exercise. Okay, the person for you, pat him on the shoulders, massage. Yeah. He has Madeline Valentin behind him, so she's jumping up like she's trying to spike a volleyball to hit his shoulders.
I can see that. I can see that happening. Yeah.
And then it's like, turn around, do the other way, and he's hitting her. And it looks like he's like trying to drive a railroad spike in the ground.
Oh yeah. He's a great guy. I love him.
Yeah. Oh, well, so then when you were so while you were at Scota, and then you moved down to South Carolina or North, yeah, South Carolina.
Yeah, at the time I was actually selling floor covering full time for Armstrong Wholesale Distributor, and the neighborhood where I lived in was starting to change. The school my kids went to, a school my kids had to walk by a pharmacy to go to school, where the guy was a neighborhood pharmacist, and he was a great guy. If you couldn't pay, he'd just say, "Here, take care of your kid. Pay me when you get the chance." My kids had to go by there, and the guy was murdered, and it was just like getting bad. And so I actually sought the good Lord in prayer, and he led me to Greenville, South Carolina. And I took a transfer with my company and actually came down here to sell flooring. So that was in August of '93 that I moved to Greenville, South Carolina.
Oh, and then you opened up your studio down there not that long after that?
Yeah, it actually happened by chance. When I got here, there was nothing here. There were no World Tongue Sudo Association schools. There had apparently been a guy years before who, for some reason, was run out of town and was like about an hour away. And I had stopped by a rec center where there was an ice skating rink to just see what kind of activities they had for my family. And I just inquired if they had karate, and the guy was like, "No, we can't hold a program, this and that." And he asked me why. And I said, "Well, I just got here." I told him where I was from. He says, "You got any information?" I'm like, "No." I said, "But I have a goodbye video that they gave me when I left my instructor school where I used to teach." So the guy said, "Can I see it?" So I gave it to him, and he called me like 2 days later. He's like, "Man, we got to talk." So we arranged to start a program. We went in October 30th and they had some kind of Halloween festival going on. And me and my son and my daughter went in. We did a demo, just the three of us. We let Nadine beat me and my son up. And we started November 1st. I had 4 people come to class that night. And that's how we got started, was in the rec center. Just 2 days a week, one class on Tuesday and one class on Thursday.
Oh, that's a nice way to start. I've heard a lot of people start with similar, in a rec center and a YMCA or something like that. That's a good way to get started. And yeah, you have a really interesting setup from what I remember for your current studio. It's like in your backyard, isn't it?
Yeah, it's literally the beginning of the building literally is about 3 feet away from the back of the house, so we literally walk from one door to the other. We complain a lot now too, because when we put the expansion on the building, we just got another 50-foot walk. So I have a longer commute now. I joke with people that come into school. I said, "Yeah, I used to have to walk from that door to this door," and they like it. They think it's pretty cool, But it's very unique, and thankfully, even with this present situation, we're in a situation where we don't have to worry about continuing to pay a high overhead for rent and everything. When something needs to be fixed, I go look in the mirror and say, "Hey, landlord, you need to fix this." He's rough.
That is an interesting situation to have. And you teach full time now.
Yes,
correct?
I've been teaching full time since April 1st of 2000. It wasn't a Fool's Day. It really just happened to be that date. But yeah, I've been doing that full time since then.
That's great. I know when I was trying to find a picture, I thought this was very interesting. I was trying to find a picture to put for you on the little advertisement I put out on the website. And I'm scrolling through your school page, and I'm looking, and every picture I could find of you was you with a student. You had your arm around him, you were standing next to him, you're giving him a thumbs up, you're smiling. I'm like, this is the only martial arts instructor that doesn't have a solo picture anywhere on his website. I thought, I thought that was really interesting. It was really cool. It's all the pictures that were there where just celebrating something with a student, taking a picture on at a promotion or something like that. That was really interesting. It was really cool.
Yeah, thanks. How they say you put the Grandmaster Shin's picture, you put the Grandmaster's picture, and you're supposed to have the studio master's picture up on the wall. And my wife was just like, "We should get your picture." And I'm up like, "Yeah, we'll do that another time." I could care less. It's like, it's not about me. I'm here for them.
Well, that is great it's great to hear. And so many people in our organization are that way, which is amazing. Because I have at times dealt with plenty of other martial arts organizations or people that do more different types of martial arts, and there's so many people that have the opposite opinion. It is so refreshing in our organization at times to see that in World Tong Soo, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's a great organization that way. We got a lot of good people like that.
So you were kind of the seed and or the first really in that Region 7 area down there or was it all Region 7 or just South Carolina that you
in the upstate of South Carolina, where I'm at, Greenville County and the surrounding area. Well, in this town where I'm at, there were no World Tong Soo Do. There was Master Mitchell Dunn was in Columbia, and then there were schools along the coast. Several schools. John Shinaka had several different programs and spin-offs from him that were down along the coastal area, Conway, which is very close to Myrtle Beach, and Pawleys Island, and just different areas there. To the best of my knowledge, there wasn't anybody in North Carolina either. So there wasn't anybody here really. There was other studios in the region, but it really wasn't that populated. It's still not heavily populated for the potential of what we have. We don't have a lot, but that's one of the things we constantly look at.
And you've been the regional director for Region 7 for a number of years also, correct?
This is my 6th year now.
6 years?
6 years.
So any particular special challenges being regional director, that you can share? Because I'm sure there's some that come up that you
well, it's been a great learning experience, to say the least. I'm the kind of personality that when I make my mind up to do something, I go ahead and do it. And, as a regional director, you can't do that. My wife hasn't said it for a while, but she always just says, "You're like a bulldozer. You just plow right ahead." But as a regional director, you have to learn that you got to take everybody's, interest as what's at heart. And I remember how many times I used to go after Master Dunn and say, "Hey, we got to do this and we got to do that." And he's like, "No, you can't do that." I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "It's not about you. It's about the whole region. It's, about this and that." And so I'm like, "Okay." And he taught me a great deal. Then Master Mars was the director after that, and I learned a great deal from him as well. So two of my best friends right there. They've been great in helping mentor me and continue to help me. And of course, I have made my phone calls to different masters that are regional directors. Master Valentin's been one of them from time to time. Master Williamson, Master Fattori, who we both grew up together, by the way, in the same neighborhood. Didn't realize it. So I talked to Master Hutchinson. So Master Anderson. So there's I try to get different opinions and help. And I always call Grandmaster Strong. He's always been a good source of guidance and leadership for me, mentoring as well. So I've had to learn to take into consideration different things, and so it's been it's a humbling experience for sure. I like it.
Sorry, my because I have the association's website and Facebook. Somebody put a message to the association's Facebook page. I thought it was for this. I'm like, okay, no, I had to read it for a second. I'm like, okay, no, it's not a question for here.
Okay, no problem.
So I was gonna say, I know that I've run a number of tournaments, but I know you guys in Region 7 have the challenge of running the World Championships. I know that has to be a whole extra level of complexity and challenge getting that going. And that when Grandmaster Shin moved down there and brought the World Championships down to your region, I'm sure that was kind of just, he goes, oh, here you guys run the tournament.
Yeah, Master Mars really helped Quan Chin and Shin a lot. And then of course Grandmaster Bodwin, in getting that place built, and then also in helping to organize things like that. And even though I was listed as one of the managers, I actually preferred to be in the background running that. Like Master Fattori was supposed to be the manager this time out, then Gideon and I are managers, assistant managers. I told Master Fattori, I said, look, you just don't worry about anything. We'll make you look like a champ. And all the people in Region 7 that all have the jobs to do since 2010, when we went the first time, we learned a great deal. And then each time we continued to learn from it and figure out how we could do things better and become more proficient at each of our jobs. And so, like, I've had transportation since the beginning of it, and we absolutely, it's a lot of work, and but we absolutely love it because we get to first of all share with our World Tung Sudo brothers and sisters from around the world, and all of the region feels this way. We get to help and do things for them, and share in our brotherhood, and do it with the Southern hospitality attitude, and but the people that drive, I'll take that from a personal level. We love that interaction with people and getting to get different pictures and talk to them and find out what they liked. And we listen. We hear some good things.
I'm sure there's great stories going to and coming from the event. I'm sure there's some priceless ones.
Yeah, some of it I'll just keep my mouth shut.
Oh, I'm sure I can only imagine.
Hey, it's like any other competition,
Yeah.
whether it's a regional competition or it's world competition. You got people that are super excited. You got people that are not so excited. The funny story there one time is we had somebody got on one of the vans, like moaning and groaning about this chick that beat her in spar, and she couldn't believe it and everything like that. It turned out to be my wife. That's hysterical. I mean, and then we all the drivers, we get back together afterwards, and we'd sit at dinner after like 11 o'clock at night, before we got to drive the next day, and share stories and things that we heard. And, it was really cool. It still is cool.
Oh, that is great. And everybody that's watching, there are a number of people. There are some people watching. If you guys have any questions, please feel free. Just type them in the comments, and we'll get Master Scota to answer some of them. So feel free to add any questions over there. Yeah, and that's the challenge with a tournament like that is, and you said probably the best thing anybody could ever learn if they're going to run a tournament is just find people that can get a job done, and you don't have to worry about them. If they know what they're going to do and they can handle it, that's, I'm sure regional events, you have this, the few people that have been groomed and have worked, they know a position, and they can you don't even have to worry about it. It's done, right?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, they're professionals and they take pride in what they do. Every one of them, every one of the people that have a job in the region, whether it's translating or putting out the plaques or setting up the floor or driving or whatever the case may be, whatever needs to be done, hospitality, we get it done. And we take a great deal of pride in Region 7 to do it. And we love it. We love it. We love it because we love our Tung Sudo family. And I give all the credit to them, and I give the credit to the people that drive for us, for as our job is transportation. So it's a fantastic group that way. So I give them the credit.
You said something a minute ago. It triggered something in my brain that we always talk about in Region 9. I think it's in Region 9. It's because most of us there's so many Italians and Puerto Ricans, and everything revolves around food for us.
Yeah, yeah.
But you talked about afterwards getting together and eating and sharing stories. I know that's a big tradition up here. Is that, and I imagine down there it's the good Southern food. It has to be a tradition down there as well. After an event, having a big get together, some meals, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, we try to do that. We try and enjoy each other's company and time as much as we can, decompress from the event. Eventually, we'll end up talking about the event and, hey, what can we do this better? How can we do that better? And we're looking forward to next time. And this has been great, and that was great. And, it's pretty awesome.
Absolutely. So if you had to, say a couple of one or two like real, standout moments in your tongue stow career, are there any that like jump to mind of like this was one of the top moments I can remember, one of my crowning achievements, anything like that?
Well, in every region there's a championship cup, and like everybody else, there's a cup here, a senior cup. When I came into it, I was already too old to be in the adult category. So, I was 32 when I started. And so I couldn't wait to turn 35 because I knew I would be a young senior. 35, I'm thinking it was in bracket only because I somehow, I'm 64 now. I still don't feel that way sometimes. Well, sometimes I do. But anyway, I chased that cup for a very long time, and I finally won one in 2001, and then one of the most outstanding things to follow up with that was 10 years later, my wife won it, and her day that she got promoted to Chodan, which I was, I'm very proud of her anyway. I mean, she's this quiet person, come in, not very aggressive, at least on the outside, not showing it. I've learned differently. But, when she steps in the ring, boy, forget about it. And she won that cup that year, and I tell you, that was a fantastic moment. And a couple other, she's gone on to win that a couple more times. So I always brag about her that her name's on there more than mine. So things like that, watching my son and daughter become black belts. My son is third degree. Just seeing my students become black belts and like having Carlos Rodriguez get promoted up to master's rank, and the great friendship we have there. It's just, there's so many great moments. There's so many great moments and memories. I really ought to start writing them down before I start forgetting them. But there's just, I don't look at it. I think if I have to say there's a crowning achievement, it's helping this next generation coming up. It's helping those who want to become black belts and masters. Watching Lynn Montgomery now testing her. Well, when she takes the test again, she's a second-year candidate. Those are the things that I don't look at my own things that I've achieved. I look at what I've helped them achieve, and those are the things that make my heart sing. Is giving it to them, and seeing the other people in the region succeed and grow and build their studios. I love that.
No, that's awesome. Those are some really good things. And it's funny you say, your wife has more championship cups than you do. I was only ever a runner up one year, and my wife did it 3 times. So it's like,
there you go. See, they're outshining both of us.
Absolutely. So who would you say, if you had to say, and this was a tough question because somebody always, you're always, I'm always hesitant when somebody asks me something like this because I'm always afraid I'm going to leave somebody out and someone's going to feel bad or something like that. But, with that, understanding that this is kind of on the spur of the moment, who would you say were someone probably the biggest influences on you as a martial artist, as an instructor?
Well, my original instructor certainly was a big influence. He was a good man. You know, like everybody else, he had his faults, but he taught me. He was very technical, and I thrive on that kind of discipline of technical expertise and things like that, and I've liked to carry that over. So he was a big influence on me. Master Dunn was a big influence on helping temper me. Master Mars, same thing. I've always seen Grandmaster Strong. I've always, for I don't know, as long as I can remember. I don't remember exactly when we first met, but there's always been a good friendship there and a good relationship. Of course, Quentin M. Shin had a big influence on me because when I was a Chodan and still living in Philadelphia, I wanted to open up a studio and couldn't do it because of the rules that existed, and went down to see him in South Philly and met with him, and he's like, nope, can't do it. He planted the seed. This was in July of '92, and he turned around and said to me, go somewhere where there's not so many schools and you don't have to worry about the 15-mile radius rule, and I was like, okay, thanks. I kind of tucked it away in the back of my head, and then there I was a year later moving to South Carolina, and I didn't have that problem. We were able to go. So there's been a lot of great influences on me. Even within the region, there's some very good influences on. I listen to them. I talk to them. I've watched like the Cosbys grow tremendously, and even now I admire what they do, and we have a pretty good school, but I look at what they do and I try to emulate them now. So they've had a good influence in the most recent years in spurring me on to grow more and do different things. So it's like you said, it's a hard question because there's so many different people. Like Master Scott Homecheck, when I first went to Masters Camp, he said to me, Joe, this next year your brain is going to change. You're going to come back full circle. And man, he was right. It was just such an amazing thing to go through. So I hope that answers that question. But
that was a great answer. And actually, we got a question from Anthony Bracco. He's saying, "Tell us about your car, sir."
My car?
Yep. It is one of the students from up here, and he is a big car guy. He has a couple cars, and so I think he wants to hear about it because he loves cars.
Okay, well, he could buy this one if he wants.
don't tempt him.
Yeah. So around 2002, I got the urge to buy an old car, and I remember when I was a kid, my dad had a '56 Pontiac. It was a straight 8 automatic transmission, and that thing, man, would get up and go. He would just blow past people that pull up alongside him, wanted to race him. And it was a 2-door, and I loved that car. I remember I cried the day they towed it away because I was hoping I was going to grow up and get it, But I loved the old cars. And I was looking for one. I was looking for a '56 Pontiac and couldn't find one. Everything I found was so rusted out, it would have cost me a fortune. It did anyway. But I found a '56 2-door Olds 88, Rocket 88. And it was in fairly good condition, and it took some time to get it worked out. But we customized the body a little bit and had it took a lot of the chrome off, had a special paint, a layered paint put on it, and had the interior built, threw in a 350 Corvette engine that throws about 360 horse. puts the headers, everything. And when you ride it, you hit the gas, it pins you back in the seat for sure. Yeah. So I'd love to be able to take it and spend some more money on it, and make it like get it chopped a little bit and stuff like that, a new suspension. But at 64, my wife keeps reminding me that in a few more years, I have to eat somehow when I retire.
Well, that's why you put it into the car now, so that when, eventually if you sell it, then it pays for everything.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I keep saying I would sell it, but and there's also a part of me that every time I go back out and get in it and start it up and just listen to that engine hum and take it for a ride. And it's got a bench seat, so Lisa could sit next to me and I could put my arm around her. It's a lot of fun, and I think sometime I might pass it on to my grandson. You never know.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, Anthony's he's a big car guy. He was actually supposed to be a candidate this year, but I don't think it was last year. No, it wasn't 2 years ago because I drove back with him. But a couple of world tournaments ago, I guess there's a big auction, car auction or a car place that's down in North Carolina, South Carolina, somewhere around there. And on the way back from the World Championships, he went there. Was like, I'm not sure if he actually bought one, but he was like looking at a whole bunch of cars that he was interested in, like on the way back from World Championships.
Hey, tell him to come down and visit. I got extra bedroom. He could come and work out in the dojang, and I'll take him to a place where you could just roam around for hours and look at a lot of old cars. It's about 25 minutes from where I live. It's awesome. It's actually where my car came from.
Yeah, I was gonna say Anthony probably will. If he hears that, he will probably take you up on that, sir, at some point.
All right, Anthony, you heard me. You're allowed to come down. We'll get Master Valentin to give us permission.
Yes, as well.
And your instructor.
He has permission then.
Okay, there you go. Good for you. Got a good instructor.
He says deal. There we go.
Right. You got it.
Awesome.
And we know he's Italian, right?
Yes.
Oh, good. Well, Sunday dinner, Italian food, no problem. People always ask me where I go to eat Italian food down here. And I say 607, and they look at me. Where's that restaurant? I'm like, no, 607 is my address.
Yeah. Yep. No, Anthony's very Italian. He's a good guy.
We'll get along fine.
Oh yeah. He's good. So what year did you go to the Masters Claim for the first year?
2004.
2004?
Yeah. It was a rough year.
And you wrote your thesis on teaching students with sensory issues, correct?
Yeah, the first one was on sensory integration dysfunction. I had been teaching in 1999. I got invited to teach at a local academy for dyslexic children. And so I went in there, and when it came time to write the master's paper, one of my friends, and her son was a student. She was a student for a while, but she said, write what you know about. And I'm like, what's that? And she says, you've been dealing with these kids for all this time, and you can write about sensory integration dysfunction. And I'm like, oh yeah. And I have to be honest, that was the first major paper I ever did. I didn't do any in high school, and the 2 years I spent in college, I never did one either. So I had no clue what to do, none. So I got one of my students, he was in high school, and he taught me what to do and helped me, and I did the research, and I got to tell you, it was a great experience. It was a great learning curve. I learned a lot from that. I still use a lot of those techniques today when I'm teaching people.
That actually sounds very interesting, actually, and because I have a nephew that is very, very autistic, and but I had a lot of sensory issues as a kid, and I had to go through some training and therapy and stuff like that when I was little to just get through some of that myself, and it is a challenge, especially some people that are very severely autistic. I can imagine that'd be a very difficult situation to get through.
Oh yeah. Well, see, I think I recognized myself in some of that. I think I was dyslexic as a kid, but back then nobody knew. And one of the things I learned was when there's one type of issue, sometimes they overlap, and there's maybe up to three. So the interesting thing about sensory integration dysfunction, ADHD, dyslexia, is they're like rings. They can overlap each other like three rings together, and it makes it very difficult because they mirror each other in a lot of ways. So it makes it difficult to diagnose. And but once you get it, it's pretty good. And the thing about doing that research paper was I would have students walk in the door, and I would say to the mother or the father, have you ever had your child checked for sensory integration dysfunction? And they were like, we thought about it. Why? And then I would tell them about my paper, and they would go and do it, and they'd come back and say, yeah, they have that, and this is great. And then they would get the word from the people that were helping them, the therapists, say, they also told us this is one of the best things we could be doing. So it was good. It really worked out well. It kind of made me an expert in my area, because I had a number of people come in and say, you have no idea how many therapists in this area are recommending you.
Oh, that's all.
Well, that's why I'm bald now too. Makes you pull your hair out sometimes, but no, seriously, we love it, and I love seeing them do that and grow.
So that was your fourth on essay. What was your fifth on essay on?
My fifth on essay was in the reverse end of things. It was successful aging, and I remembered I was thinking about it from the time I got the first master's rank. I'm always planning ahead. I always look ahead to what's coming up next, and I try to anticipate things, and so that when something comes down the line, I'm kind of prepared. And I was thinking about what my research paper would be. And we were at master's camp, and Quentin Im had us on the floor doing special exercises, Quentin Im Shin. And he said, as a group, we're aging. And he said, we have to learn how to take care of ourselves because we are getting much older. And the population at the time, I don't know what the age is now, but it seems to me there's quite a bit of us that are a bit older now. And as soon as he said that, it was like a lightning bolt hit me. It's like, yep, that locked it in for me. I decided to do it on successful aging. So I did. And again, that was another fantastic learning experience in just seeing the way that we need to exercise and continue to stay active as we get older. We don't fall apart, I think, because we age. We fall apart because we stop and age. We stop moving. I always look at it, I'm going to hurt, and there's a lot that hurts. And anybody I'm talking to out there right now, they're saying, yeah, I know. Get out of bed in the morning, I check the list. Oh, that wasn't there last night. I got to add to my inventory list, of the aches and pains. But I figure the way I look at it is, if I'm going to hurt, I'm going to hurt because I'm moving and doing something. And that way it's a different type of hurt. It's a better hurt because it eventually goes away. So yeah, successful aging was another good experience. And again, I try to teach different people about that.
And you say that, I think that's something that, especially, that when you keep active and you keep moving, it makes such a difference. I know there's people that, that are my age that I see, and then like they can't do anything. I'm like, and I'm 41, going to be 42, and it's like, guys, how do you have the problems you do? And they're like, well, I haven't done anything since, I played football in high school and I haven't done anything since. And I'm like, there's a coworker of mine, the guy is 65 years old, and he this year he did his I can't remember his 14th or his 15th ultra marathon.
Wow.
And
pretty awesome.
50 miles. He ran the Boston Marathon last year, and he's like, yeah, my knee hurts. He goes, but if I wasn't, he goes, it hurts more when I don't do anything. He goes,
Oh, yeah, exactly. The more, if I sit still, it's terrible. Then I feel different things happening. But, which is kind of cool because there's a guy that has the same birthday as me. He's exactly 10 years older than me, and we hang out together. And up until last year, he was refereeing basketball, running up and down the court as a referee. And he's like, now it's time to retire. So at the end of last year's in 2019, he retired from that. But he still keeps himself active. And, he has a kind of like the same philosophy. Now, he doesn't do the martial arts, but he's a great guy. So, yeah, we got to keep moving. I had a chiropractor one time. I mean, he goes, you want to wear out instead of rusting out. And I'm like, yeah, I want to wear out. I don't want to rust out.
Absolutely. So, Anthony, I see your question. And what transition are you talking about? He's saying any tips on how do you mentally make that transition? And I gotta. Hopefully, he can write in another comment of what that transition is. But we'll ask one more question, and then hopefully he'll have written in by then. So what would you say? Obviously, you said two of the things that you. He goes being older.
Oh, well, the transition to being older?
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to somebody older than you. Because, okay, so I'm 64. And what do most people start doing when they turn this age? They start thinking about retirement and what are you going to do and things like that. And again, I have to say, you had asked earlier about some of the influences on me. And then I start thinking about retirement, and then I stop and think, wait a minute, Grandmaster Shin, how much he used to travel around the world. And then Grandmaster Bodwin, and Grandmaster Strong, they're 11, 12 years older than me, or one was and one is. And, sorry. But, I see those guys still going, and Grandmaster Strong's going strong, and no pun intended, but he's still going at it. And, so I think about that. And then I remember that chiropractor telling me you want to rust out or you want to wear out. And that has always stuck with me. And, there's a great little book out there called, what was part of my research, How to Stay Young. It was something about turning back the clock. I'll have to look it up. I'll put it out there. It was an excellent book. I just don't remember the name right off the top of my head. It'll probably come to me the minute we sign off.
Isn't that
I'm getting old, But transitioning to that, just keep moving, keep moving. I don't think of myself as being 64. I still say sometimes I have a 16-year-old brain in my head sometimes, and make those mistakes too. Sometimes, but I like to still get out on the floor and do stuff and keep moving. You just got to keep moving.
Yeah, I think that's the best. One of the best things. A piece of advice I've heard is just keep going. I know times I'm teaching, and you get the 16, 18-year-old kids, and it's like, guys, if I can do a front stance the same depth as you, we got a problem here. There's a lot more mileage. I'm a much bigger person than you. And if I can do it and you're 16 and, in the best shape of your life, you better get lower than me. I'm just saying.
Yep. I hear you. I agree.
So you said a couple of specialties kind of that you've from your master's thesis that you've developed. Are there any other martial arts specialties that you would say you have that you focus on?
No, some people go out and do different things. The thing that I've enjoyed the most about the martial arts is sparring. So I would say if that's any specialty, it's sparring, and my particular brand of sparring, my philosophy on sparring. And I remember my instructor saying to me, Joe, he said, they'll admire you for how well you do forms. They'll admire you for how well you do weapons, but they'll remember you for how you fight. And that's what we kind of try to do. You know, I love to fight. Yeah, it's a little bit more aches and pains when I get hit now. And of course, now I got my grandsons that are in there too. One just passed his Chodan test, and they're both, the two oldest ones are bigger than me, but I got to hit them because you know. But I try to. I don't have one particular specialty. No, I try to be excellent at what I do. I try to be an excellent technician at what I do and bring out the best of my students. So I would say that would be my specialty, is teach them what we have to teach them.
Oh, that's nothing wrong with it. Yes, hi cat.
Cute.
Yeah, he thinks anytime he hears people talking that they want to that they're talking to him, so he wants attention.
Absolutely, like a kid.
Hey, he was a rescue. He has no teeth, so he's
no teeth. Boy, that's interesting.
Yeah, when they got him off the street, we think he was a house cat, and then he was abandoned or just thrown away. And when they found him on the street, his teeth were just so bad they had to pull them all to keep him healthy. Yeah. So, yeah. But he doesn't stop him. Although every once in a while, you know how a cat gets every once in a while they get playful and they like bite your hand.
Yeah.
He does that, but then he realizes that he's not doing anything. He's just gumming you, and he like kind of walks away. He kind of walks away in shame.
The gumming, yeah.
He's like, ah, blah, 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 and then he kind of like is embarrassed and has to go hide for a while.
That's hysterical.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, he's a lucky adoption.
That's great. Good for you.
Yeah, my wife loves the animals, so she loves to get the rescue. So the dog's a rescue, the cat's a rescue. The only animal we have that I think we actually really that isn't a rescue is the hedgehog that we have. That
there you go. There you go. My wife is like that with the animals. She had 2 dogs when I married her, and one was a rescue, and then well, we had a couple of cats on the property. I can't have a cat indoors because I'm allergic to them, but I like them on the property. We have one right now, and she has her chickens in the back. So it's eggs every morning.
Another thing with Anthony, his wife is has a whole bunch of chickens. So
there you go. The eggs are really good too.
So if you had to pick, you said sparring was obviously one of your favorites, one of your specialties. If you had to pick though any forms or techniques, would you say what would be like your favorite form?
My favorite form for a long time was Pian Odan, because when I first went into competition, I won a first place trophy in forms doing Pian Chodan. I was an orange belt stripe, and then it took forever till I was a red belt before I ever placed in forms again. And that was my breakout form, was Pian Odan. And I think I took a second place trophy that day in forms. And then it was good. Forms were always difficult for me because I didn't like dancing, and I kind of looked at forms as being dancing. And so the brain and the body didn't want to work too good that way. But I learned. Now I like forms a lot. So Pian Odan was one of my favorite forms.
I find that very that very interesting because I always seem to notice. Yeah, I do like Pian Odan, but I always seem to notice that a lot of times, Pian Odan is almost the forgotten Pyongan because everyone gets their brown belt with a stripe and they're so anxious to get the red belt learn Pasai that Odan, gets a little left behind occasionally because people are so anxious to get to Pasai, they just kind of want to just get through Odan to get there. And to hear that's your favorite, that's actually really nice to hear because I think that form deserves a little more love than it gets occasionally.
Well, it just has a fond memory, and of course, whenever I'm teaching people that and they struggle with it, I'm like, this is one of my favorite forms, and this is why. And they always hear the story, so I think there's some people are tired of hearing it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So guys, anybody that's there, feel free to send some comments, and I'm gonna I'm just seeing if there was any other questions I had kind of preset to go. But no, this is great. I think I remember when I tested for my 4th degree master. I think it was. I'm trying to remember if you were. I think you were testing for your 5th degree that time. One of the 2 years you were testing, because I think it was you and then Rachel Valentin, and I think I think we were almost all in one straight line at that test.
I think that was her. I think when I tested the first time for 5th, that was her last year for 5th. Then I came back the next year, and that was 2013 was the first year.
That would have been and that was the year I tested for the red stripe. I just remember that I'm like this is a nice row of people that I'm a nice column of people I'm like, that was pretty good.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
I remember that one of those tests I had forgotten a move in Chason, and so when we were riding home in the van, Master Mars was driving and he started to fall asleep and the van was going sideways. I'm like, get him out of there, Gideon, get him out of there. So Gideon took over and Master Mars came and sat down next to me, and he was sleeping, and his head was bobbing. All of a sudden he popped his head up. He looked at me and he went, "You forgot to move in your form." He punches me in the shoulder and he goes, "That's okay. They didn't notice."
That's always the best. That's always the best when you get away with something and they don't notice it during the test.
Yeah, I hate to say it though. They might be watching closer next time. But, yeah, you never know.
Well, that was. I remember. I think it was my first year as testing testing as a candidate, and the whole test. We're finally getting to braking at the end, and Grandmaster Shin hadn't come around. That's when he would wander and stop in and look, and he hadn't come to our test at all. And we get to doing braking, and I think I was doing a speed round kick because we had to do a 2-board speed brake. So and he was sitting like right at the end of the table. I was like on that, like right in front of him. It was in the upstairs behind the bleachers where they had when they collapse it and you had that rubber area.
Yeah.
I smacked the boards, kicked them. They went flying up. I turned to go do my next break. One of them bounced off the wall, came down, and hit me in the back of the head. I'm like, he hasn't been here the whole time. And I just bounced the board off my own head.
That's a good story. I like that.
I'm like, I can't believe I did that. I couldn't have done that if I tried.
That's pretty funny. I like that.
But no, I think that was I thank you for doing this. This has been a project that a couple people have gotten going on. I think there's 4 different people that are doing some of these interviews. I think Master Jorgensen started last week, and everyone's seems to be really excited just to get to know the Masters a little bit. I think the current crisis we're in has just developed this opportunity that everyone's getting so used to these visual tools that it has a chance of like, I think Master Sedianto started it with Tim Watson, because I guess Tim helped run the school that Jeff now owns. So they kind of started there and they just spread out and grabbed me. And I kind of jumped into it, and I've learned so much about you tonight. I'm sure everybody that was has been watching, or anybody that's going to tune in and watch it over the next couple of days will get something from it. So thank you so much for doing this tonight, sir. I think it was great.
Thank you. It's quite an honor to be here and to be on this. I think it's a great thing that you guys are doing with this to making it more personal. And, it's great to watch. I've started watching them. I didn't know at first they were going on. And then somebody said to me, "Yeah, you got to watch these." And I started watching them, and they're really interesting, and you learn a lot. So thank you for doing it. Thank you for inviting me to be here tonight. I was nervous about it, but, it is. I'm okay. We're good.
No,
And I'm very grateful. Thank you very
you
much.
did a great job, sir. It's for me, it's like we're sitting, it's like you get a longer opportunity of times you have at the Masters Clinic or at a tournament where you just get to sit and talk with somebody for a while. And for me, it just feels like a great opportunity just to get to know you a little bit more and just to spread that. Hopefully, everybody else has gotten that too. Thank you again so much, sir.
You're welcome, and thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. All my brothers and sisters out there, continue to stay well. Keep working. I know a lot of us are rebuilding right now from this, but we'll make it. We're tough. There isn't a tougher group out there than this group. I know it.
Absolutely, sir. So I'm going to go and we'll end this right now. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And
Hung Soo.
Hung Soo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.